Good morning. Today, this lecture is going to be the part 2 of Module 5 of Civil Engineering Project Management, which is a subject for the final year civil engineering students of Kerala Technological University. And it's going to be on safety in construction. There are a lot of accidents that take place at a construction site. Let's just get an estimate of what all are the different types of accident and at what frequency they occur at a construction site. So we are here going to break down the fatalities according to the type of accident in construction industry. Now, most of the accidents in the construction site happens because of people falling from a height. So here they've written that 56% of accidents are caused by falling from heights. 21% accidents may be because some workers are trapped by something that is collapsing or overturning. 10% might be struck by a moving vehicle. There is a 5% chance of accidents happening due to shock, electricity. Then 4% of the workers might be having an accident because they're struck by a flying or a falling object during machine lifting of materials. Then sometimes there is a chance that they will be in contact with moving machinery or material that is being machined, and because of that they might get into an accident. And 1% might be having accidents because of exposure to a hot or harmful substance. So these percentages that I've written, they're very rough and might not actually be substantiated by any source, but this is almost a rough estimate of the different reasons or the different types of accidents that happen in a construction site. Now, do not consider this or do not think that all the workers working in the construction site would be subjected to some accident or the other. No, that's not true. Out of the serious accidents that take place, majority of them are because of workers falling from a height, or maybe because of getting trapped under something that is collapsing or overturning, and such and such. So why do we need to get an idea of the different types of accidents that take place at a construction site? Now, this is because we need to know where the danger lies. We need to know what causes accidents to workers, what is a risk to the people working on our site, so that we will be able to counter these accidents. We might be able to get rid of the danger. We might be able to we might be able to take care of the risk involved in the activity. So here we are going to check the need for safety in construction. So as you all know or have just now heard, construction is a highly accident prone industry. So working in a fearless, protected environment makes the team more productive and efficient. If the team feels that it is protected, if the worker feels that nothing can happen to him, then he will be more productive and more efficient in what he is doing. A safety program ensures the worker to be mentally and physically prepared to execute a job quickly, fearlessly, and efficiently. So if that feeling of safety is there, the job is done more quickly, more fearlessly, and more efficiently. Now, safety should be a way of life. It must be part of every individual at every time during performance of any activity. So safety, basically, whatever activity you are doing, whether it's at the construction site or not, you should always be sure that you're safe while doing that activity. That safety should be your way of life. If safety is your way of life, automatically, as a civil engineer, you will make sure that your construction site is safe for your workers. So, safety measures need to be taken in different stages of construction. What are the different stages of construction? The activities under the health and safety management may be grouped under the following stages. During the pre-construction stage, you can take some safety measures. During the construction stage, you can take some safety measures. And during the commissioning and handing over stage, again, you can take some safety measures. Now, I know what you're thinking. Definitely, safety measures need to be in place during the construction stage. But what are the safety measures that you should implement during the pre-construction stage or the commissioning and handing over stage? You might be feeling slightly confused. So let's go into this in detail. The safety measures during the pre-construction phase. That is, the pre-construction phase is the phase where you are planning your project. So just like you're planning the project, you should also plan the safety measures that are to be taken during the project. And these are the safety measures that you can implement during the pre-construction stage. Assess decisions and make an overall planning about construction methods affecting the health and safety of workers. So you're going to assess the decisions and make an overall planning about what construction methods you're going to use, so that you have put in utmost thought into the health and safety of your workers. You will ascertain timeframes and budgets relating to health and safety measures. That is, just like you put a budget for your project, for your construction project, you will also allocate a budget relating to health and safety measures. The personal protection equipment of your workers, the gates that you're going to place, the signboards that you're going to place, everything for your safety, for the safety of your workers, that also needs a budget allocation, and that is done during the pre-construction stage. Now as you all know, no construction is usually taken up completely by the builder. He will also give contracts for certain activities. He will be contracting or outsourcing from other people, and for that he has to prepare tender documents, he has to call quotations, he has to receive bids, and then he has to finalize the bids. All that we have discussed. So in the tender document itself, which is prepared during the pre-construction stage, you should clearly communicate what are the health and safety requirements of the project. That is, even if a contractor is taking or bidding your tender and calling and getting a contract to do part of your project, he should also adhere to the health and safety requirements of your company, and that should be there in the tender document. It should also be there in the contract document. So the contracting agencies may be asked to submit a project-specific health and safety plan proposing the methodology for managing health and safety and their capability in completing the project in a safe manner. Now, it's not just enough that you put the health and safety requirements in your documentation, that is in your tender documents and your contract documents. No, the contractor should periodically submit a report on the health and safety measures that he has undertaken, so that you are sure that he is taking part in the project and he is taking care of the health and safety of his workers. Let's move on to the next stage, which is safety measures during the construction stage. Now, you know that safety measures during construction stage are the most important ones, because these are the places where you actually require safety measures, because this is the stage when the workers are actually involved in the activity. This is the stage where risk is at its maximum, where maximum accidents are going to occur. And so, not just maximum, all the accidents are going to occur during the construction stage. So you need the safety measures in place during the construction stage. Now, how do you put these safety measures in place? You will identify the aspects of design that have a bearing on the health and safety during construction stage. So if suppose you're going to build a particular beam or a particular column, and your workers would have to be working at a height of say 12 feet or 18 feet, and you're going to identify this element, and you guys say that my worker might be in the danger of falling down, and so I need to prepare enough safety requirements, or I need to prepare enough safety measures so that my workers are protected. So these has to be identified. So just an example, it's a construction site, there are going to be different activities involved that will have varying levels of risk. So you need to identify them and then plan, and you need to think about identify them, and you need to think about what safety measures can be implemented for such activities. Now, while scheduling various activities of construction, you have to put adequate time allowance to carry work in accordance with health and safety requirements. That is, now you have studied in module 1 and 2 about scheduling of activities. We have put that this activity takes a maximum of 5 days to complete. and maybe a minimum of 3 days and all that. We have studied in module in 1 and 2 about scheduling and crashing and everything. Now, whatever schedule you put for an activity, whatever amount of time you think the activity would require, you have to take into consideration the safety of the people working for that activity. Just because you want to get the activity completed on time, do not compromise on the safety of the people working on the activity. That is, if you want the activity completed in 4 days, maybe you would want a large number of people working on it at the same time, but as per safety requirements, not more than 4 people should be working on that particular activity at the same time. And so you would be having difficulties. The workers would be having difficulties working in a place where 4 people can stand and work. If you actually ask 8 people to stand and work so that the work completes quickly, you're actually putting the lives of all 8 people in danger. So do not schedule your activities in such a manner that you're compromising on the safety of your workers. You make adequate time allowance to carry out the work in accordance with the health and safety requirements. Review the proposed method to statements of various activities, identifying health and safety hazards of activities in the project and assessment of the risk level. So various activities have to be reviewed, and the safety measures should be reviewed, and then you should also assess the risk level of these activities. All these reports should be there with you so that you can take countermeasures if needed. Now, you are checking the risk level of each activity. So there is an acceptable level and an unacceptable level of risk for each activity. Suppose the level of risk associated with an activity is unacceptable, it's very high, then you should take additional control measures, maybe including revision of the work methodology, change the way in which you're going to do that activity, so that all the identified risks are at ALARP level. ALARP means as low as reasonably practicable level. That is very, very important, because you should be able to make sure that you have reduced the risk as much as humanly possible. And that is something that you should be doing, and you should make sure that no risk level for any activity should be unacceptable. If it is, you should try to bring down the risk by even changing your work methodology. Now, safety measures during construction stage, it's not just 3 or 4 points. There are a lot of points under safety measures during construction stage. Another one is that planning and establishing the facilities for implementation of health and safety, such as workmen training facility, health center, first aid, access control of employees, etc. should be provided. That is, every worker should be given minimum facilities associated with the work site. If they want to rest for some time, if suppose they get mildly injured, or suppose they're not well, if they're sick, then they need a health center, or maybe they need a first aid kit. Then there should also be a training facility. However small the job is, if they're trained to do that job, they would be more confident and more efficient in doing that job. And so there should be a small workman training facility at the site. All these are actually helping improve the safety of the construction site. Ensuring that temporary establishments at project site, such as site offices, workmen camps, toilets, canteens, rest sheds, etc. are created, meeting the requirements of the relevant statutes and standards. So there will be, as per law, there will be certain standards and statutes that are set, which would be mandatory to be provided. For example, canteens, so that the workers will be able to have their food, rest sheds because they're doing heavy work, they're doing hard manual labor, and so you cannot make them continuously work for 8 hours because it's going to be inhuman. And there should be rest sheds so that in between they'll be able to rest. There should be toilet facilities and workmen camps, etc., so that and they feel safe and they're safe at the work site. The project manager, it's a project manager who's going to be responsible for the safety of the workers. Usually every company would have a project manager who looks solely into the health and safety of the workers and the project. That is, I'm talking about large scale projects. Small scale projects, of course, one single project manager might have to handle everything. But if it's a large scale project, Then there would be different types of project managers, one in charge of materials management, one in charge of the time scheduling, another in charge of accounting, etc. And one project manager or one team of project managers would be there especially to check the health and safety requirements of the construction site and to provide them and to allocate the budget for them and to implement safety measures as and when required. So project manager shall ensure that the construction agency has understood the challenges and has planned to meet the project specific health and safety requirement through appropriate competencies. Then health and safety measures need proper coordination by the construction agency, and such efforts of the construction agency shall be reviewed, monitored and appropriately guided by the owner, client and consultants. Now it's just not the company involved, construction company involved, who's going to be in charge of the health and safety measures. The owners or the clients or the consultants who are helping the project team, all of them would also review the health and safety measures implemented by the company. Now there is also, we should make sure that the subcontractors also adhere to the health and safety requirements, and that should be looked into by the project manager of the actual construction company. You will look into the subcontractors and whether they are implementing their health and safety procedures as per the company norms and whether the workers are looked after. That also has to be made sure by the project manager. Now during the commissioning and handing over stage. Commissioning and handing over stage is basically documentation. So you have already completed your project, you've learned your lessons from the project, you've implemented a health and safety policy in your project, and now you know the result of this health and safety policy. Now you have to review this health and safety policy that you have implemented during the project, and you have to check whether it was effective enough, what were the loopholes, how could you have improved it, so that for future planning you would be able to, that is for a future project you would be able to plug the loopholes and do a better performance, give a better performance for the health and safety measures. That is one of the things that is done during the commissioning and handing over stage. Lessons are learned, and you're going to review your work or review the health and safety policy that you have implemented after handing over the project. Another thing that can be done is that your experience in the construction and pre-construction stage will help you during the operation and maintenance stage. Definitely after commissioning and handing over, there is a stage where you have to operate the project and you have to maintain the project, and so these safety measures will come in handy during the operation and maintenance stage also, and hence it has to be properly documented. Now different types of construction works are there that require a lot of safety measures to be implemented. We'll just go through the different construction works that actually require you to have safety measures. Safety measures for storage and handling of building materials. Safety measures in construction of elements of a building. Safety measures in demolition. Just like a few months ago, we saw the demolition of a few flats in Kochi. So the safety measures need to be in place while demolishing a building. Safety measures for hot bituminous work, that is during construction of roads, workers are dealing with hot tar, hot bitumen, and they need proper equipment and proper training and proper proper clothes so that they are not affected by the hot bituminous work. Safety measures for scaffolding, ladders, formwork and other equipment, definitely, because they're going to be working at different heights. So you should make sure that scaffoldings or ladders, etc., that are being constructed for the workers to climb on would be safe enough for them. Safety measures for excavation. Excavation is usually in civil engineering projects, excavation is done for the foundation, and especially if you're doing a pile foundation, the people working, the workers working for the piling should know exactly or should be trained so that they know the procedure and they know that they're working with heavy machinery, and hence the safety measures should be in place so that none of them are injured during the process. Safety measures for lifting and hoisting machinery. Fire safety in buildings. Now, fire safety in buildings should be there after construction as well as during the construction, so that if at all a fire breaks out, people are safe and are not hurt. This is the picture of a worker. This is a picture of the personal protection equipment given to a construction worker. So let's just start with the different objects that he's using. For head protection, he uses a hard helmet so that falling or flying objects, he is protected against falling or flying objects or overhead objects, does not hit his head. Then he is provided with glasses. Glasses are for eye protection so that his eyes are protected from blowing of dust particles or metal shavings, acids, caustic liquids, especially if there is a welding process going on, his eyes are protected from the welding light. A jacket. Now, many of you might have seen construction workers wearing fluorescent jackets. This is because suppose they are working at night, then they should be visible from a large distance away so that they do not get hit by any moving vehicle. Then this is hearing protection. Now, just like our eyes and head, our ears are also very sensitive, and during a construction process, you know how loud the voice is going to be, how high the decibel levels are going to be. So there should be hearing protection so that loud tools and machinery and poorly maintained equipment do not harm the hearing of the worker. Chap pants in case they're working with chainsaws. Foot protection from falling or rolling objects or sharp or heavy objects, wet, slippery surfaces, uneven surfaces, hot surfaces, and even against electric shock. Harness lanyard is actually that helps them or prevents them from falling down if they are working at a height. So it is actually required for if they are working at more than 6 feet or above a lower level. They are provided with gloves for hand protection so that sharp or hot objects, chemical, biological or electrical hazards are not happening to them. So these are a few of the equipments that are supposed to be provided to a worker. We see that probably abroad, almost at all the construction sites, workers are usually provided with this equipment. In India also, if it's a large-scale construction by a well-known company, usually workers are provided with all this protection gear. However, in many places where small-scale construction is taking place, personal protection equipment are not provided to the workers, and due to that, a lot of them, unfortunately, happen to fall into a lot of accidents, and this should be avoided. Now, how does a company implement a safety program? At minimum, the health and safety management includes the following. The company should have a health and safety policy. And a company might be working under different projects, and different projects would require different safety measures. A common safety policy might not work for certain projects, and so there should be a project-specific health and safety planning. Then there should be people in charge of the health and safety program. So the company should provide resources, should provide authority and responsibility to a team to manage the safety policy of the company. The workers should be given training and awareness, and they should be made competent enough to do the activities to reduce the risk level. The health and safety communication should be taking place throughout. That is, the health and safety policy should be made available to the workers so that they know what are their rights and what are the requirements, safety requirements that they require in order to carry out an activity, that they are entitled to certain gear that should be given to them for carrying out an activity so that they do not work under a lot of risk. Health and safety reporting, this should be done by the health and safety management team, where they are supposed to report or give a report to the higher authorities regarding the health and safety policies and how they are implemented in the construction site. The different activities should be controlled such that your risk levels are always at a minimum. Then certain work systems should be given permits only after they reduce the risk levels to a minimum. The design and engineering of the project should be such that it gives maximum importance to the safety policy and safety of the workers. Now, certification of plant, machinery, lifting tools and tackles. So depending on the safety of the plant and machinery and the lifting tools and the tackles, they will be given a certification. They will be given, or the workers will be aware that whether they are high risk, they're working with high risk machinery, or whether they are working with a low machinery. For that, the machinery itself requires certification. Subcontractor management is a very important part of implementation of the safety program, because we might be looking into everything. We might be providing the health and safety policy to our workers, but we also have a lot of subcontractors working for us, and hence we should make sure that they're also following the same policies and providing the same amount of safety as we do to our workers. Fire prevention and control. There should be policies for fire prevention and control. Access control, this means that not everybody is allowed to go everywhere along the site, because there are certain areas that are dangerous, where there can be a sharp fall, or it might be not very safe. It might be a slope that can lead to accidents. So there must be control. Only trained people need to go to certain places, and so there should be signboards kept such that everybody is not allowed to go to certain areas. Access control, maybe you can even keep a security guard over there so that people don't venture into this area. Safety of visitors, there will be a lot of visitors to your construction site, including people from the government who might be coming there to oversee the construction and oversee the health and safety policy. It might be students who have come for internship, or it might be even family members who have come to visit a certain person. So we should make sure that people or visitors who visit the site are safe and they do not venture out into dangerous areas of the construction site. Traffic and logistics management, lots of traffic would be going in and out of the construction site to transport the materials and to maybe carry out the waste materials. So this has to be properly managed, and it has to be made sure that the traffic does not go into a place where workers are working and create problems for them. Otherwise, they might get into accidents with the trucks that are going in. Performance monitoring and improvement. So we are already implemented a safety policy. We have to keep monitoring the effectiveness of this safety policy so that we can keep improving on the safety policy that we have provided. Reward and reprimand, that is in case the safety policy is highly successful and has prevented some very bad accidents from taking place, you have to reward the team that is worked behind producing this and implementing the safety policy. But at the same time, if it fails, they should be given adequate warning, and they should be reprimanded for not having taken care of certain parts or certain safety features. That is one way of implementation of safety program. So basically, we have to promote a positive health and safety culture. The workers should be sure that when they are working into the construction site, that they will be taken care of. That itself provides a very positive attitude to the worker, and because he is sure that his health is not going to be compromised for the construction project. Integration with other management systems. Now, just like I told you before, health and safety management is not the only management team working in the project. There are different management teams. There is the material management team, there is the scheduling team, there is the finance and accounting team. So all of them should be integrated. They should be working shoulder to shoulder so that the project becomes a success. So these are certain questions for self-assessment. After going through the video, you will be able to answer them. Now, you should understand that it's not a very difficult topic. If you understand it, or if you just listen to the lecture, you would be able to answer questions on your own. So I hope that you would be able to answer these questions. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have understood.